Rescue or recovery? Its occupants now presumed dead. The risky mission to reach that Russian submarine moves forward.
People who are involved in this type of work really are heroes.
Decision 2000. The candidates get busy, but younger voters don't seem to be getting the message.
There's a disconnect between the act of voting and the issues that they care about.
And the rush to get ready for the Summer Olympics. The deadline dash down under.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News, reported by John Siegenthaler.
Good evening, everyone. The Russian Navy admitted today that the 118 sailors on board the crippled nuclear submarine Kursk at the bottom of the Barents Sea are probably dead. Many Russians are expressing their anger about the way the government handled the rescue operation, while efforts to reach the sub continue in the waters 80 miles north of the port city of Murmansk. We begin our coverage with NBC's Dana Lewis.
Help is on the horizon. Tonight, a British team has joined the Russian search and rescue armada of 22 ships, but it may already be past the 0 hour.
And it may be that it's simply an impossible task. But we're going to keep going until we know there's nothing more we can do.
Hours before their arrival, a top Russian admiral went on Russian TV to announce the crew is likely already dead.
It is the gravest disaster that I as a sailor have known in the history of the submarine fleet.
The Navy says the nuclear submarine Kursk was flooded bow to conning tower. Sailors in those sections died in minutes.
Our worst expectations have come true.
2 escape hatches are flooded. The only one left in the rear of the Kursk is damaged. British and Norwegian rescue crews believe they have the equipment to get it open. Today, a government committee reported a powerful explosion on the Kursk when it hit the sea floor, detonating torpedoes. The Russians say first the sub likely collided with an unidentified object. U.S. intelligence sources say there was no collision. And the Russians believe oxygen supplies on the Kursk likely ran out Friday or today, but there could still be an air pocket. Not only Navy commanders, but President Putin himself now widely criticized by the Russian public. The Kremlin stalled 4 days before accepting outside help. The president remained on vacation for most of the week. The Kursk is being compared to the country's worst nuclear accident when the public was misled and the Kremlin covered up.
They feel betrayed. It's almost like during the Chernobyl disaster when something happened, the authorities were lying.
At sea, this is how Russian sailors say farewell to dead comrades. But the rescue effort will go on, just in case there's a miracle aboard the Kursk. Dana Lewis, NBC News, Moscow.
This is Ron Allen in Murmansk, northern Russia, where the fate of the submarine crew hits especially hard. This woman works as a cook at a naval base where at least 27 of the sailors were stationed. I know them. I work on their base, she says. I cook for them every day. Just about everyone here is close to the Navy. Even the priest holding a week-long vigil for the crew served 10 years at sea before answering his calling. Today, more relatives of the sailors arrived here, only to hear at the end of a long journey that hope is all but gone. Authorities try to console them, but the anger is clear. Many relatives don't accept the explanation for the accident and had little faith in the rescue effort.
Throughout these coastal communities, people wonder what really happened to the submarine and what the Russian government and the Navy might be trying to hide. Communities full of grief and frustration. What's missing here, many say, is the truth.
They hoped a new generation of Russian leaders would be more open than the communists. They especially expected more from President Putin. It's a shame for the whole nation, he says. I think people will stop trusting Putin. Ivan Glaskov served 40 years in the Navy, some of that time as captain of a rescue ship. He, too, thinks the operation lacked leadership. 3, 4, 5 days go by without positive results. They couldn't decide what to do, he says. That submarine could have been saved. The doubts will endure until the Russian Navy gives a credible explanation for what happened. But for now, the hopeful vigils for the crew are becoming services to mourn and grieve more than 100 sailors almost surely lost at sea. Ron Allen, NBC News, Murmansk, northern Russia.
One of this country's newest submarines is headed back to dry dock. The Navy suspended testing of the Seawolf after welding flaws were discovered on some parts to be installed. The $2.4 billion attack sub, one of the fastest, quietest, and most complex ever built, was supposed to be deployed later this year. No word yet on whether this trip to dry dock will delay things. Former presidential candidate John McCain is resting comfortably tonight after 5.5 hours of surgery to remove 2 cancerous lesions, one on his face, the other on his arm. Aides say doctors are calling the operation a success. Their initial examination had made them optimistic that McCain's skin cancer has not spread. Lymph nodes near his temple are to be tested. McCain had skin cancer in 1993. This episode is unrelated. When NBC Nightly News continues in a moment, Al Gore's newfound momentum and George Bush's effort to take it back. And later, in focus, testing technology which could enable the learning disabled.
Okay. I'll trade you this salad for your pudding. Nope. This newspaper for that comic. Trade you mitts. No. I'll trade you my 1998 Gateway PC for a brand new Gateway Essential PC with an Intel Pentium 3 processor, plus training.
Deal. Buy a Gateway Essential PC with the YourWare program and trade it in toward the purchase of a new one after 2 years. Visit one of our 300 stores or call us.
I'll throw in my little sister for a scanner.
For prescription strength pain relief without a prescription, take Extra Strength Bayer. It's as powerful on tough pain as prescription Tylenol with codeine. Bayer, powerful pain relief and so much more.
What is it, Chuck?
I mean, what was it?
No nibbling.
Don't worry.
Is she kidding?
Now she's cooking.
Whiskas Homestyle Favorites taste like food you'd make, if you could. 4 new meals, each with all that slow-cooked goodness, sealed in the Flavor Lock pouch.
Hi, ready for dinner?
Trust me, he's not.
Should we save him some?
Whiskas Homestyle Favorites, what cats want.
There are times when you have trouble sleeping because you can't stop thinking about the tensions of the day. Try something different. New Aluna Sleep, the herbal supplement that won't knock you out, but relaxes you so you can drift off to sleep naturally. Aluna is not a drug. There are no groggy side effects. It promotes a natural sleep pattern in just a few nights. New Aluna. It doesn't make you sleep. It lets you sleep.
80 days and counting now until the November election, and both major party candidates were out and about today. At least 2 public opinion polls now show Al Gore ahead of George W. Bush, or call the race a statistical dead heat. Our coverage begins with the Gore campaign and NBC's Chip Reed.
Invoking the mighty Mississippi as a symbol of America's heartland values, Vice President Al Gore headed out for day 2 of his journey aboard the Mark Twain. 4 days, 400 miles through Wisconsin, Iowa, and the battleground states of Illinois and Missouri, disembarking for campaign rallies along the way, hammering away at the populist message of his speech to the Democratic Convention.
It makes a difference if you have someone in the Oval Office who is willing to stand up to the oil companies and the big polluters and say the families of this country deserve better, clean air and clean water, a clean environment. That's the difference in this election. They're for the powerful, we're for the people.
With George W. Bush pointing to that language as evidence that Gore is waging class warfare, a crowd of more than 2,000 showed up in the small town of Bellevue, Iowa, to make clear how much they like Al Gore. Tomorrow, Gore will be joined by his running mate, Senator Joe Lieberman, who took today off for the Sabbath. And for one day, they will give up their boat and continue this tour through America's heartland by bus. Chip Reed, NBC News, Bellevue, Iowa.
This is Campbell Brown. Today, Governor Bush met with Native Americans in New Mexico and unveiled a proposal to spend $900 million improving Native American schools.
We're committed to a goal of better schools in every single community, from the inner cities of the country to the tribal lands.
As policy, it's a minor initiative, but one that emphasizes this campaign's dual message, that George W. Bush is the education candidate in this race, and that he's a different kind of Republican, one who believes in reaching out to minorities.
We need to elect a leader that knows how to bring people together,
somebody who can lift this country's spirits.
Bush's biggest event of the day was in Dallas, where he was greeted by an enthusiastic army of Republican Party activists.
The next 2 weeks will be busy ones. Aides say Bush will visit 13 states before the end of August, 12 of those states that were won by President Clinton in the last election. Campbell Brown, NBC News, Dallas.
This is the first general election of the new century, and there is an urgent effort underway to get the young adults who will live most of their lives in this century to vote. More on that from NBC's Colleen Dominguez.
They could be the swing vote, deciding the next president of the United States. 26 million people between the ages of 18 and 24. Yet their voter turnout rate is lower than any other age group.
This is a huge untapped reservoir of potential support.
USC political science professor Sheldon Kamenecki.
I think a lot of young people are apathetic, a number are cynical, and probably most feel they're not really connected to society, and therefore they bow out.
Over the last 7 presidential elections, the number of young voters has dropped from almost 50% in 1972 to 32% in 1996. More troubling, in a recent poll, 72% of teens and young adults said they won't go to the polls this November.
I'm not sure if any of the candidates are, really going to do something for America.
There's an overwhelming feeling that politicians are unable to follow through with their promises.
I don't vote primarily because I think both major parties, Democrats and Republicans, are about the same.
11 million new voters as a result of this amendment.
Expectations were high in 1971 when President Richard Nixon signed the 26th Amendment to the Constitution, which lowered the voting age to 18. Paul Larimer was among 3 18-year-olds selected to sign the historic document. Today, Larimer lives in Northern California. 47, a salesman, the father of 2, he always votes.
Young people these days, aren't screaming to be heard like it was 25 or 30 years ago.
Larimer's own children are prime examples.
There's not too much going on right now that has to do with the younger people, so it makes us feel like it wouldn't make a difference.
If anyone knows the frustration of getting teens to care enough to vote, it's Allison Byrne Fields, creative director for the nonprofit group Rock the Vote, in the midst of a cross-country bus tour trying to register 1 million new young voters.
Our feeling is that there's a disconnect between the act of voting and the issues that they care about.
Black, straight or gay, if you don't vote, you can't complain.
Often considered the cool alternative to a civics course, Rock the Vote goes after the MTV crowd to attract what many consider the segment that drives our society, both economically and culturally.
Teens are driving purchases and decision-making on virtually everything because more and more teenagers are really the head of the households because their parents are both working in many cases.
From youth conventions to town hall meetings, business leaders and educators, part of a national movement, trying to convince the 18 to 24 crowd their votes matter.
If every single teen voted, you could totally switch the vote around.
Colleen Dominguez, NBC News, Los Angeles.
And politics is the sole topic tomorrow on NBC's Meet the Press. Gore campaign chairman William Daley and Bush campaign strategist Karl Rove are Tim Russert's guests. When NBC Nightly News continues, virtual reality and hyperactivity.
I never thought I'd be out here again. With my stiff joints, sometimes just getting out of bed was a challenge. Then I discovered new Flexogen from the makers of Advil. It's not a painkiller, but a daily dietary supplement. It has both glucosamine and chondroitin. They work together over time to help rebuild and lubricate worn cartilage in my joints. Now my only challenge is making the shot.
Flexogen. Look for it in your store next to Advil.
In this place, I see a lot of gas. I also see a lot of folks taking medicines that don't fight gas. But Gas-X has the most powerful medicine to relieve gas fast. Nothing I've seen works faster. Gas-X beats the bloat fast.
It's allergy season, and for once, I'm not miserable. It's the Nasopron. Unlike these, it can't make you drowsy. And unlike these, there's no possibility of nervousness. Maybe that's why allergists recommend Nasocrom most. Nasocrom, the best way to stop suffering is never to start.
Welcome back. Please get out a pen and paper.
Psst. You have an extra pen? Regular or gel ink? Gel. Comfort grip or standard? Comfort. Psst. You have any paper?
Staples has everything you need for back to school.
Bobby?
You have any chalk? Regular or dust-free?
Yeah. Want low prices? Staples. Yeah, we've got that.
Sunday on Today, her first new album in 6 years, her first performance on our show. Sinead O'Connor live on the Plaza, Sunday on Today.
In focus this evening, the search for new ways to diagnose a disability which affects up to 5% of America's school children. NBC's Dan Lothian has our report.
Put this on. You ready?
A young girl in a virtual world.
Ostrich? Ostrich, yeah.
Not a game, but a demonstration of technology that could one day help young children dealing with a real-life problem, attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD.
What the virtual environment would allow us to do is have a better diagnostic of a real-world situation.
The same technology already being used at the University of Southern California.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Where work with virtual reality is helping detect Alzheimer's at an early stage. Now, testing for a possible ADHD breakthrough. It's not being called the magic bullet, but one more tool to help diagnose and treat a disorder with symptoms of hyperactivity and inattentiveness, which affects almost 4 million children. Until now, more conventional methods used, tests on paper and observation sessions. Often the diagnosis is difficult and debatable, adding to the controversy.
Some of the symptoms associated with ADHD are part of the child's normal development at earlier ages.
And there are questions about treatment. Over 2 million children are treated with powerful psychiatric drugs such as Ritalin, Clonidine, even Prozac. Many worry that medicating children is becoming too routine. Now, therapy using virtual reality is moving to the cutting edge.
That's what really drives these researchers. It's the excitement that comes from being able to apply non-medical tools to solve medical problems.
So how does it work?
There's a car. Look to your right, left, yeah.
Dr. Albert Rizzo, an assistant research professor at USC and the expert behind this project, works with a child wearing a virtual helmet. In the classroom, distractions, a paper airplane circling, a car driving by the window, and someone walking in the door. This is an exercise in focus. Can the child pay attention to the teacher at the front of this virtual classroom and click every time a certain letter appears on the board?
You can really more specifically measure the kinds of attention ability issues that occur with these kids.
Distractions can be added to increase the challenge. The goal, to diagnose inattentiveness and figure out how to help children overcome it.
If you provide a reinforcement or reward for performing at a certain level, can they resist looking out the window?
Next week, a clinical trial funded by the National Science Foundation begins. 30 children with ADHD taking part. A lot of research still to be done, and a lot of families waiting and hoping. Dan Lothian, NBC News, Los Angeles.
When we continue, divorce, parental rights, and international law.
Here comes that heartburn again. It happens time after time. You've changed your diet. You've tried to treat it, but the pain keeps coming back 2 or more days a week. That frequent, persistent heartburn may be due to acid reflux disease, potentially serious. It's Prilosec time. Time to see your doctor about America's most prescribed acid control medicine. Your results may vary, but for many people, 1 daily dose of Prilosec provides 24 hours of complete heartburn relief. Ask your doctor for more information about Prilosec and if it's right for you. The most common side effects are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. 24 hours of complete heartburn relief is possible with the purple pill they call Prilosec.
Uniroyal tires with nail guard seal most tread punctures instantly, permanently, and repeatedly. Nail Guard tires, only from Uniroyal.
I've been here going on 31 years, and every day I feel lucky to be a part of helping kids get through here.
How's that?
Well, there was a time when there's a lot more money to go around. With the budget schools have today, we all got to give a little more to make it work.
I can see what you mean. This whole place is pretty run down.
Hey, this old run-down place has helped thousands of kids to learn, make something of themselves. I never forget that.
Okay.
To help local schools, this year Office Depot is crediting 5% of your back-to-school purchase to the school of your choice. Office Depot, helping schools take care of business.
To Indiana now, and a child custody dispute which has become a kidnapping case with international overtones. NBC's John Palmer is following developments.
The FBI and immigration officials at international airports and border crossings are on the lookout for Abdullah Abdul Aziz Al-Arifi, who disappeared with his children earlier this week. The house where they had been visiting him was deserted when police searched it last Wednesday. The children's mother, Joanna Stevenson, who had sole legal custody of the children, thinks her ex-husband is trying to take them to his native Saudi Arabia, which doesn't honor American divorce decrees. She worries she'll never again see her children, ages 10, 9, and 5.
She would be Miss America someday. She got to meet Miss America last year. Sarah's very precocious and smart. Z is a character, and he's a sweet little boy that I love him to death. I want him to come home.
The court, in unequivocal terms, told him that the children were not to be removed and that he could not travel beyond the borders of the United States.
U.S. officials say there are more than 1,000 cases just like this one every year involving a variety of countries, including Mexico, Canada, Sweden, Germany, and Austria. Those who have studied the problem say it's especially hard on the children.
Not only are they being removed from the parent with whom they have a close tie, they also are being removed from a country and a culture with which they're most familiar.
In a recent scathing report, the General Accounting Office said the State Department lacks a central point of contact to respond to abductions, offers limited financial assistance to parents, and limited help in tracking cases. A situation which adds to the despair of a mother in Indiana. John Palmer, NBC News, Washington.
One of Goodyear's blimps was involved in an accident today. It was blown into a pole and ripped in half while trying to land. None of the 7 people on board was hurt, but the 3-year-old airship was described as a total loss. Auto accident victim Tilly Tudor went home from the hospital today. The 83-year-old grandmother survived being trapped in her car for 3 days in a snake and bug-infested swamp. The hit-and-run driver responsible is still at large. Now to the North Pole and something scientists say hasn't existed for 50 million years, a mile-wide stretch of water where ice should be. A paleontologist on a cruise ship took this photo of the open water where the thick ice had melted, which some suggest could be the result of global warming, although others say it may simply be a natural occurrence. When NBC Nightly News continues in a moment, the excitement mounts down under as Australia gets ready for the Olympic Games.
Some nights, falling asleep is the most elusive thing on earth. No matter how hard you try, you can't capture it. Now, you can capture the sleep you need when you need it with Sonata. Like other sleep aids, you can take Sonata at bedtime. But Sonata is the first and only prescription sleep aid you can take later if you have at least 4 hours in bed before becoming active again. You'll fall asleep fast and still wake up naturally, ready to start your day. Until you know how you will react to Sonata, you should not drive or operate machinery. Common side effects are headache, dizziness, and drowsiness. Do not drink alcohol while taking Sonata. Patients who abuse prescription sleep aids may become dependent. Prescription sleep aids are most often taken for 7 to 10 days as needed. Your doctor will advise you about taking them longer. Ask your doctor about your sleep problem and how Sonata can help. Capture the sleep you need when you need it with Sonata.
Have you seen the latest? One-a-day joint health with glucosamine. A unique blend designed to help you maintain flexibility. It's from One-a-day. And just what you need to feel your best.
When it really counts, you stand your ground. Looks like we've got a lot in common. You can always depend on Chevy to be there for you. And now, during the Chevrolet U.S. Olympic Countdown, get $1,500 cash back on the 2000 Chevy Malibu with a standard V6 automatic ABS and air. Don't let the selection pass you by. Make a stop at your Chevrolet dealer today for the Chevrolet U.S. Olympic Countdown.
Sunday, the conventions are over. The tickets are set. Did Al Gore position himself for a comeback? The Bush and Gore campaign preview. If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Diabetes, the best new medicine. NBC Nightly News next week.
Finally, with the Summer Olympic Games less than a month away, organizers down under are making sure they are ready for the big event. Here's NBC's Rahima Ellis.
Sydney, famous for its stunning opera house in Australia's largest city, building up for the big event. This week, workers began installing 170,000 white bulbs that will become 5 Olympic rings atop the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Australia has spent $3.3 billion getting ready for almost 11,000 athletes, furniture made especially for them.
Pretty good. And it's long enough?
Security extremely tight. New highways and rail lines leading to Olympic Stadium, the centerpiece of the park. 250 technicians from around the world here just to handle the timing of the races. With high-tech equipment, all false starts within 100 milliseconds will be on the record.
This beep will also be heard by anybody in the stadium.
Workers, not quite Olympic caliber, test the new digital cameras. An estimated 100,000 international visitors are expected to attend the Games in Sydney, far fewer than those who attended the Games 4 years ago in Atlanta. Smaller numbers, but excitement is still very high. The Olympic torch on an Olympic journey, the longest relay in the history of the Games. It's traveled by air, by land, and for the first time ever, by sea. A scientific marvel, keeping the flame lit while underwater at the Great Barrier Reef. Now only 27 days away from being carried into Australia's Olympic Stadium to let the Games begin. Rahima Ellis, NBC News, New York.
And NBC sports coverage of Olympic trials for the U.S. gymnastics team airs on this station tonight, 8 Eastern and Pacific. And that is NBC Nightly News for this Saturday. Thanks for watching. I'm John Siegenthaler in New York. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night.
NBC News, America's news leader. Dateline Tuesday, one of America's richest bachelors vanishes in a plane crash. Then his secret sex life is discovered and the feud over his fortune begins.
Larry is the father of my baby.
Children born to different teenage mothers fight for his money. But what will the courts decide? The battle of the billionaire's will. Dateline Tuesday, 10/9 Central.
Now view all your email accounts on one screen, accessed from anywhere with one secure password. The account tracker on CNBC.com. Profit from it.